gentlemen, to Monday, April 17th, 2023, Granville County Board of Commissioners. Now, if we could, Commissioner Williford, if you provide the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, strength, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to resolve any disputes gracefully, and dear God, help us to apply your wisdom as we decide on certain matters and make decisions that affect this great county and its citizens. We ask that you bless our first responders, firefighters, law enforcement, and military personnel. Bless our state and national leaders. And Father, please look after those less fortunate. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, fellow commissioners. You've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. What would the board like to do?
So move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second motion.
Commissioner, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move into the public comment section. We have 4 people signed up. You have 3 minutes. When your name is called, we ask that you be respectful. We'll start the clock. When you stand up, give us your name and your address, and we'll go from there. Our first speaker tonight is Rusty Corley.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. This is Assistant Chief Brian Ward, Vice President of our Board of Directors for Brassville Volunteer Fire Department. He signed up below me. He's willing to yield his time to me to speak. It's on the same matter.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Ward, you yielding your time to Mr. Corley? Okay. Mr. Corley, based upon that, you have 6 minutes to provide us with your statement. If you give us your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Rusty Corley. I live at 1533 Lawrence Road in Creedmoor in the Brassville community. I'm a lifelong citizen of Granville County and this community. I know most of you personally, but for those of you that I do not, a little bit about myself and my family. I'm married to a wonderful wife for almost 13 years, and we have 2 young boys. I previously served Granville County for over 15 years as a deputy sheriff. I've served Granville County Search and Recovery for over 13 years. I've been a member of the Creedmoor Lions Club. I've served on 7 different boards of commission, some of which were elected or county commissioner appointed. All were public safety related except one. I've recently served on the Emergency Services Committee, the Fire Services Subcommittee, and Secretary for the Power Tax Commission. I've been a volunteer firefighter for Brassville Volunteer Fire Department for 18 years. My wife has been a paramedic for Granville County for 18 years, and her father was a longtime volunteer fire chief. So you can clearly see that service to our citizens and public safety in Granville County is something my family very dearly appreciates. I'm here tonight to speak to you on behalf of Brassville Volunteer Fire Department. We recently held a community meeting at our station. As our bylaws suggest, we try to at least once a year. I'm extremely proud of the effort of the members to organize the meeting and the professionalism shown throughout conducting the meeting. Our goal of the meeting was to use fact-based only material that we compiled to educate the citizens of our fire district of the new fire tax and the future needs of our department. We, as I'm sure each of you, constantly get asked questions regarding the fire tax, and often the information is not correct. We are often asked questions such as, what took you so long to get here, especially at the further ends of our district? We have citizens that think our fire department is fully staffed with paid members now that a fire tax is in place. We get asked questions concerning infrastructure, such as when does our department plan to build is stationed in the further southern part of our district. Many were shocked to learn that we cannot afford to. Many were also shocked to learn that our newest first-out fire truck is a 2008 model, and following that, the second-out fire truck is a 1994, and our tanker is a 1998. All three would respond to a structure fire, and that's what we must use. It is recommended by the NFPA that after 15 years, if a truck is still in usable service, it be placed in reserve status. But we clearly cannot do that with the current fire trucks, and the cost to equip them ranging anywhere from $550,000 to $800,000, depending on what type of truck you need to replace. We have been very good financial stewards with the limited resources we've had to work with for many years, but we cannot sustain but for so long and cannot keep up with the growth and demand of our fire district and community. All it takes is for something to happen to one of those fire trucks, for example. Numerous times we've had to borrow fire trucks from other departments due to breakdowns just to keep coverage and safety to our community. We've been fortunate that trucks were available to be borrowed during those times. We, however, in a county with 62,000 residents, have 11,400, give or take, living in our 6-mile district alone. We by far have the most populated fire district, even exceeding municipalities in our county. We ran 502 calls for service last year alone, and we've had years we ran 600 or more calls for service prior to changes with dispatching at the 911 center. We were already aware and told during our last state insurance inspection we needed a second station to be built in the further southern part of our district. This would help improve response time, help homeowners with insurance coverage rates, but most importantly further help save lives and property and keep our community safe. I want to be clear, and we are not trying to be unreasonable, and we understand the current struggles to change much as things currently stand. We are aware of the struggles of establishing a fire tax and getting it implemented to provide a slight increase in funding and one paid personnel at each participating station. As the largest district in the county, along comes the largest need. The citizens are expecting it of us, the county, and we expect it of ourselves because we know the needs are there, and as volunteers it hurts us to not be able to provide what is needed. We personally feel that equal funding across the board in the long-term picture cannot work. We will never be able to keep up with the growth if things remain that way. We just simply ask that as things do change in the coming future with increased revenue and/or future fire station projects, that the above be taken into consideration by this board. We request to be a part of that conversation as we now have 4 of the 7 county commissioners representing parts of our district. We are very appreciative of all that the Board of Commissioners does for our county, community, and specifically appreciative to the current leadership's willingness to communicate with us. Respectfully, Rusty Corley.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Corley.
Yes, sir.
Paul Blaylock.
Good evening. I'm Paul Blaylock. I live at 1593 Tally Ho Road, just north of STEM. I'm here to, again, state my opposition to the STEM's proposed ETJ. I know that they're having their town meeting tonight, and I'm sure they're bombarded with comments to them from citizens who are against the ETJ. And sooner or later, that matter will be brought before you guys to either approve it or not approve it. And I just hope that y'all will go with what's best for the citizens of Granville County who are affected by the ETJ and not what's best for the city of STEM. I'm hoping that you'll side with the citizens affected by this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blaylock. Mr. Brad Oldenburg. No comments? Okay. Is there anyone else here that did not sign up but wishes to speak to the board? In that case, that's the end of our public comment section. Thank you, and thank you that came to speak tonight. We appreciate it. As someone wants, as much as I hate to read social media, I will comment on this just shortly before we go to our next item. No, it does not go through one ear and out the other. We actually listen. And we actually talk about things, we actually discuss them, And we actually try to take a lot of time in evaluating the decisions we make. And citizen input is vital. And so we do listen, and we try to educate ourselves the best we can on the matters, and then come up with the right solutions. May not always be the one that you agree with, but we try to do the right thing. So thank you. Sheriff Fountain, sir.
Good evening. As normal, first giving honor to God for what he does for me in my life, where he's placed me at this time. Thanks to my staff that always prepare me to be the person that they want me to be and the person that I am. And today we come before you seeking to have an approval to surplus some of the older shotguns that we have in exchange for a store credit at Cross Creek out of Henderson, North Carolina. Right, class? Cool. The store credits will be utilized for equipment that we will purchase from Cross Creek, because we're going to go through the same process moving forward. Once we start to resupply our weapon systems, but these shotguns are outdated. They went through the ATF checks. We have some more that are waiting for ATF clearance to surplus those as well. I think last meeting, we donated 4 to the city of STEM and their police department. These we're going to use for store credit. There will be no money exchanged. And I think all the necessary requirements being posted in the newspaper, the approval through the county attorney and county manager were met. And we're asking for the approval of this item.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff Fountain. Is the board, just from a recommendation standpoint, the sheriff recommends approval of surplus 24 shotguns and exchange them at a fair market value for the store credit at Cross Creek Outdoor Supplies of Henderson. And board, for your edification, the sheriff has met all the standards and requirements of the county manager, have reviewed as such, along with Mr. McNally, and is within compliance of all local ordinance and statutes. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the recommendation from Sheriff Fountain.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff Fountain.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to make it clear that I normally try to stay till the end, but we're still working on this shooting case out of STEM. And we provided you guys some information that we made an apprehension in one of the persons today. We have some more people that we're going to take into custody soon. So I'll make, with your approval, I'll take my leave and go serve this community as I'm supposed to do.
Sheriff, you're welcome to read your statement if you'd like while you're standing there.
Let me see if I got one. Okay. As you know, on April 17th at approximately 9:30, Mr. Antoine Steed of STEM was taken into custody by the Granville County Sheriff's Office investigators. Antoine Steed, along with his attorney, arranged through me on Saturday that he would turn himself in. Mr. Bayless, the State Bureau of Investigations, the DEA, assisted us in pinging his location, so we were able to find him. I was able to make contact with him telephonically on Saturday. We had Roanoke Rapids PD start to get involved in it, and Mr. Steed decided that he was going to turn himself in. So his attorney arranged to turn himself in today. Once we obtained warrants for first-degree attempted murder. It stemmed from an incident that happened on Smith Road on March 22nd. His bond was set at $200,000, which he was bonded out immediately after we booked him in. We want to thank the SBI and the DEA for their continued assistance in the ongoing investigation. We ask anyone having information in reference to this investigation is urged to contact Mr. Keith Day, who's the lead investigator from the Granville County Sheriff's Office, or the Crime Stoppers. The Granville County Sheriff's Office would also like to extend its gratitude to the men and women of the Granville County Sheriff's Office, Criminal Investigations Unit, the Special Operations Intelligence Unit, the Granville County District Attorney's Office, for their continued efforts in this ongoing investigation. Like I said, we're going to make some more arrests soon. We're just waiting on some more intelligence to come in, but we're not finished.
Thank you very much, Sheriff, and thank you for your report tonight. And board, do you have any other questions for the sheriff? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is, Jason. Is landfill operations contract continuation, clarification, approval of, fuel surcharge, excuse me. Go ahead, Jason.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, the background for this is the county staff failed to include the fuel surcharge component to the landfill operations contract that was presented to the board at the regular meeting on April 3rd of 2023. Due to the uncertainty of fuel prices within the next 14 months, the county attorney and manager recommended bringing this to the board for approval. Attached is the existing agreement with the landfill contractor. Originally, I believe there was a draft amendment to the current contract that was originally submitted, but I don't think it was in your board package. And also, let's see. And the discussion of the fuel surcharge component is discussed here within. Also included is an attachment showing any escalating fuel surcharges the county would be responsible for. Contract compliance with contract and purchasing policy. The board approved a 14-month extension to the current contract, which is set to expire on June 30th, 2024, at the regular meeting on April the 3rd. All contract and purchasing policies will be followed by staff upon approval by the Board of County Commissioners. Per local and state contract and purchasing requirements, county staff is working on developing an RFP within the next few months with a new contract to be executed prior to July 1st of 2024. The funding for this, the funds are available within this year's budget to cover any fuel surcharges. Funds for this line item, as budgeted and proposed in fiscal year 23-24, will allow us to cover overage costs for fuel up to $5.26 per gallon. As of the day of this letter, which was April 17th, the off-road fuel cost was around $3.49. It is the recommendation of the Environmental Service Director for board approval for the fuel adjustment clause as discussed in the attached amendment.
Thank you, sir. County Manager, do you have anything you'd like to add before I ask the board their pleasure?
No, this fuel surcharge was in the previous contract and was proposed to be in the current one. We just hadn't fully briefed the board on that element of the contract when it was brought forward last time. I think the funds that are available should cover us in most circumstances, and if not, we would simply transfer some additional funds into the contract to cover those.
What's the base rate? Is $3.49.9 the base rate? Surcharge is anything over that, or is it a lower figure?
That might be a good question for the county attorney. I think when the amendment was done, it was around $3.59. From what that may be a question.
It was higher than the current price by a dime or something like that.
That's good. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any questions? Board, your motion, please. Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next one is to make an appointment to the Granville County Library System Board of Trustees. And the purpose is to make that appointment. A Martha Wren from District 2 resigned and needs to be replaced. An application from Brian Goff of District 2 has been received for consideration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Brian Goff to replace Ms. Wren's current term to fill out her term on the library board.
Do I have a second?
Second motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Weichel, Since the purpose of this is a resolution regarding conveyance of personal property, and I'll let Ms. Weichel take it from there. Good evening, ma'am.
Pardon?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So as the Chair stated, the purpose is to approve a resolution for conveyance of personal property determined to be surplus, obsolete, and/or unused to nonprofit organizations pursuant to General Statute 160A-280. Basically, over the years, the county has accumulated an array of old office desks, chairs, filing cabinets, etc., that are no longer able to be used in county service, and they've been determined to be surplus. Per the county's disposition policies, items which were determined to have any value at all were previously listed on GovDeals, which is the online governmental auction site, but they did not sell. So those unsold items and other miscellaneous items determined to have little or no value are currently taking up much needed space in county facilities because we're storing a lot of these items. The county has determined that the public will benefit from the conveyance of this property to governmental units or nonprofits who will continue to serve the citizens of Granville County and the state. And we intend to hold a surplus event on May 13th where these organizations may select and receive conveyance of the items. In accordance with the 5-day notice requirements of 160A-80, public notice of this resolution was posted on the county website on April 12th. We also wanted to let the board know that announcements regarding the surplus event will be made in such a broad manner to ensure as much exposure as possible so that all nonprofits or local government units would hear about it. We will also be confirming the status of these organizations as governmental organizations or 501c3 prior to permitting them access to the event, and then we will be managing the event on the day of and record all property that's conveyed and to whom it is conveyed. So at this time, County Administration recommends approving the attached resolution. I've also included the property disposal options chart from the School of Government so you can see the statute that's referenced in the agenda report and the resolution. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? None? This is just clearly items that are obsolete and of no longer use or can be used or any value to the county government. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendation and approve the resolution on pages 89 and 90.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. County Manager, do you have anything for us this evening?
No additional items, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Wren, any items for the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
One item would be consideration of allowing the appropriation of funds to cover the hiring of developmental associates, the same firm that was used to do the county manager's recruitment, to allow the developmental associates to work with the DSS board. That's not a matter that I understand they have budgeted, and we would use the same form of contract that we've used for the manager search to help recruit a DSS director. The amount is around $23,500.
And just to clarify, with your approval, you would authorize me to go ahead and work with the DSS board and execute that contract.
Okay. Ms. Hinman and Dr. Kozar, who sit on that board, do you have any comments to make?
Go ahead.
Surely, you to the chair, but I would think it would be a great move. We did this before, and it's quite a process, and I think using developmental associates would be a great help to the board.
Okay.
I agree. This is a very, very demanding department. And I mean, there's 97 people that are, under this department head. And I think having somebody that's professional doing this would work out much better than just me doing this.
County Manager or Dr. Kozar or Ms. Hinman, for the purposes of the public, kind of explain the head of DSS role as to who she actually is an employee of, and at the same time, what our role is.
You want me to do that? The DSS director is an employee of the DSS board. This board's role is to appoint certain members to the DSS board and also to provide funding to the DSS board.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just to be clear, the basic fee for the search would be $23,500, and the maximum total fee would be $24,750 in case some additional work was requested.
Did they place a timeline on the search for searching, or would that be done through the contract?
That would be done through the contract. They gave a typical timeline, and I can give you that in a moment. So it goes through roughly day 65 would be when they would expect to be able to present something to the board.
Okay.
But of course, with all of these things, that's variable.
Right, very good. What's the pleasure of the board to approve the funding for that searching firm?
I'll make a motion that we approve it, Mr. Chairman. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Does that search bring it down to so many applicants and then the board makes the final decision? Okay. Yep, I'll make the motion.
And again, it would be the DSS board making the final decision.
Right.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The DSS director is also employed by the state of North Carolina too, but the board has a major decision on all that.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Edmond. Let's move on to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Gooch tonight.
Yes, I want to thank everyone for showing up to the meeting tonight. It was a short meeting, covered a lot of business, but covered it in a short amount of time. And we do listen to comments, and we listen to what people have to say, and always open to talk to any citizens at any time. And we're not that hard to find. Call the county administration office, get very to us most of the time. And with that, that does it for me tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Gooch. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since I last meeting, I had the opportunity to attend the district meeting last weekend. Anyone like to serve on the NACO board, there's a seat coming open at June conference.
Well, we're going to nominate you again.
Oh, no. And
Is it Gloria Westenhunt that's currently in that position from Guilford?
yeah,
Okay, thank
her 6-year term is up.
you.
And also, we hate to hear it, but the lady that's running for second vice, one of the participants was running for second vice for the state, she passed. So if anybody wishing to run for second vice for the state, you're welcome. Also, we had it was a good conference, and we found out that we was debating whether what we're gonna build our new office in Raleigh, but we decided not to build it. Decided to wait on for a while, and also the clerk board to the county commissioners board, they was asking for a seat at the table on being at our meetings and stuff like that. So I think they was gonna do it. We'll make sure that our next meeting. With that, Mr. Chairman, that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Rob Wilford.
Nothing tonight.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Sue Hinman.
No comment tonight.
Commissioner Tony Kozar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to everyone. Just very briefly, on Monday of next week, I think it's Monday, the Franklin Advance One Board will meet, and we will have an opportunity to talk about some of the challenges from national headquarters, and the whole theme will center around self-sufficiency, and I'm really looking forward to sharing a few comments from the conference at that, and we hope good things will come from that for our people. Also, I see Mr. McConnell here, and tomorrow afternoon at 5, the health system will recognize some volunteers at our great hospital. We're very happy about that, and surely thankful to all the volunteers who give so much time at the hospital to make it a special place. So I look forward to being a part of that recognition.
Thank you, Dr. Kozar. Commissioner Tim Karen.
Well, I don't want to impede the fastest meeting in your tenure so far as chairman. I just wanted to thank the members of the public that came out tonight, and I see a contingency from the Brassfield Fire Department up there, and I just want to say thank you to y'all. And Rusty, if you'll convey to Kelly that we really appreciate y'all's service, her on EMS, and you with your service to the Sheriff's Department and with the Fire Department and rescue and all the other things you've done for the county. Your family obviously has a service heart, and I just want to say thank you to all of y'all that volunteer for the county, as well as the rest of you that are here tonight. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm going to just take a moment to speak on behalf of the whole board, and just Mr. County Manager, in just a moment I'll ask you to place something on the screen. As for Mr. Corley, as you're well aware because you were on the subcommittee in Brassfield Fire Department, it has representations with the Fire Chiefs Association. So all of the actions taken by the Fire Commission actually are decisions that actually go through the seven-member board. One of those members represent the Fire Chiefs Association, in which your chief has a say in those meetings as to what goes on or what does not go on, and they collectively bring that back to our board, to the Fire Commission. The Fire Commission is made up of 7 members, the Fire Chiefs Association chief, 3 subject matter experts, and then a citizen from the north, south, and central part of the county. Those citizens been meeting, initially was going to be quarterly, but actually have met once or twice a month since July. And they've made a number of decisions, but that commission then brings their recommendations to our board, and our board then either adopts the recommendations or modifies or edits the recommendations. That board, the Fire Commission, in which there is not a county commissioner who votes on that board, understands that we're a unified fire district, meaning that the unincorporated areas of Granville County are within that fire district. And to include, I believe, the town of Stovall. As part of that decision-making process, they make recommendations, and they recommend it that they place a firefighter on every fire truck in the county in the volunteer fire departments for response purposes. And they also made that recommendation at our spring retreat, as you recall, board, so that they could, with their budgeting for next year. This year, they've made the recommendation to do that, but they've not finalized the standards that they want for the firefighters that are going to be on the vehicles. And so they have to discuss that. In addition to that, they all received their initial funding, from the initial operational funding of $80,000 to $85,000, somewhere there. Every fire department received that. And they also received stipend money, which includes workman's compensation, and I believe firefighter dues that they pay for the retirement, in which the fire tax pays for. The fire tax funding is secured funding that cannot be entered into our fund balance. It can't, once it is dedicated to that fire tax and that fire tax alone. The consultant recommended to this board that going forward, that we have a fire commission, and that the fire commission and this board would ultimately settle upon equitable distribution of funding. The fire commission is, I hope, working toward that, but right now it's a brand-new board, a lot of things to work out. We were one of the last counties in North Carolina to form a unified fire district. So, in fact, we were next to last. So we have a lot of ground to keep up. Part of what you talked about tonight was talking about the capital funding and the ability to be able to fund for fire trucks and things of that nature. The consultant recommended that, and the consultants. So the question is going to be, as we work through the fire commission, is how does the fire commission ultimately bring recommendations to our board that align with that or don't align with that, and what our board decides to do collectively in regards to that. Our board will take recommendations from the fire commission, and we will sit with the county manager and with Mr. Rivas with fire services, and we'll discuss those with those. Those are our in-house experts, if you will. And then from that, they'll base their analysis and provide us with what they believe the appropriate money. One thing for certain, as every tax dollar comes into our general fund, our regular fund that we serve our county with, so does money go into the fire tax fund. We, as a board, must account for every dime coming and going. And so that's why there's been a discussion about some items that's been brought before the fire commission. So we understand that there's needs in every department and there's opportunities for every department, but we also understand that it's going to take time. And you got 12 different departments been operating in this county for 20, 30, 40, 50 years maybe. And so we've got to get everybody as close aligned as we can to come up with some type of process that everyone is acceptable and that is moving forward. It won't happen overnight, but I'm confident to get there. What I am confident of is that we now have an independent funding stream that we've never had before to be able to assist our fire departments beyond that. Here's why that's important. Prior to that, we would go to our fund balance. And if our fund balance was lacking or could have been lacking, doesn't mean that they would have got the same thing they get year after year after year, and it's very difficult to increase it as time goes by. And we had increased that fund to $1.2 million, and it was becoming a burden within the fund balance, and it means that we might have not been able to continue at that funding level. So we looked for models, we hired a consultant, we brought in a consultant, and that consultant made us some extremely, what we believe to be sound recommendations from a sound company based on a comprehensive study, and so that's where we're at. So I thought it was important that you get the history of that so that you understand. And I think, Mr. Corley, you were there for most of that, and we were working with every fire department, as you recall, and even devised a strategic plan moving forward through those subcommittees. So thank you for your service there. I'd now like to move on to another topic to discuss because I think it's important that the citizens that came tonight and those that have an interest, if you could, County Manager, talk a little bit about what we're working on in regards to our deputies and all of our Granville County employees. Well, this board is committed to improving the compensation for all county employees. We have, Ms. Wackel, how many county employees do we have, ma'am? So 350 or so. So that's a lot of employees. So we're trying to meet their needs, and we want to have competitive salaries and ranges and benefits. So we have work to do. No one in this board will tell you that we don't have work to do, but we have work to do. But our board has not been sitting on their hands. Our board has been active. You'll see a timeline here beginning in April 16th of 2022. The Board of Commissioners implemented a countywide 2.75 COLA adjustment. And in some cases, if you were making $55,000, that COLA adjustment would have been about $1,500. And the average annual pay increase was like $1,400. Excuse me there, it's right below there, so thank you. I was looking at another sheet. In July 1 of 2022, the Board of Commissioners approved recruitment and retention bonus for the Sheriff's Office Detention Center. Having failures within the detention center can create some real issues for our county. So we got ahead of that. There was also a detention consultant that worked with the Sheriff's Department, and so that began last summer. On July 16th, the Granville County Sheriff's Office personnel received an average of 3.37 pay increase on merit increase. That's the average rating out of a 4.0 scale. The average was 3.37 for all the employees, and that ended up being an average increase of $1,793 per employee. Then on November 7th, the eve of the election, not knowing anything at all about the election, but just knowing on history that anytime there's a transition within a sheriff's office, there's likely to be a lot of change, and we can't control that. But we did realize that we had already had some people leaving the sheriff's department for a number of reasons. Not some salary-based, some not salary-based, but people were leaving in that time frame. And so what we did then is we approved a $1,500 and a $5,000 recruitment bonus. The $1,500 bonus, that went to people that made over $50,000, and the $5,000 went to newer employees or those we're going to recruit. So it was a recruit and retain, and also applied to our 911 center. On January 11th, the Granville County Sheriff's Office Detention received the overlap pay. Both our law enforcement officers and our detention officers, because of a payroll transition. That transition opted to an average between $1,500 to $3,300 per employee for that transition. So if I look at someone that was making somewhere around $55,000, and based off what we've done within that time frame from February to now, and the payout final payout would be in July. Am I correct on some of those bonuses? This coming July, the final payout? June or July. If you're an employee that's in that range, which that range is in comparison to what would be a corporal's pay in Granville County, which is a pay scale of $40,715 to $65,144. That person now would be total compensation of, am I correct, $63,217?
That's for the last 12 months. That's what they would have earned.
Right. And so, and if you also look at the new pay scale for the Oxford Police Department, their range being from $52,000 to $74,000, that hits mid-range. My point on what I wanted to say tonight is that we're conscious of people being, it's a highly competitive market. We're gonna do our very best to be as competitive as we can be. But what we haven't been doing is we haven't been sitting on our hands. And this board has been continually working to find ways in which we could adequately compensate not only our sheriff deputies, but all our employees. And I think that's important to know when you see figures like that, because not a lot of American citizens received $8,200 in additional compensation this year. And so that comes with a cost. And so as we work through this process, we want to continue to do what we can. In fairness to our deputies and to our law enforcement organizations, it's highly competitive. And it's and unfortunately, for a number of reasons, a lot of folks no longer want to do the job. And so we have to find a means to reach the right salary ranges and get to the right point to where we can recruit, retain, and train and keep solid, sound, trained deputies here. This salary range will also, I think, if you look at it, is as such that you could possibly bring in people that were adequately trained at a point to where we could bring them in and they'd be good from day one. So we're working on it, and we continue to work on it. And at this time, I'll ask any other commissioners if they'd like to add any other information to this. But I thought it was important to share that with the public because each of these commissioners have had opportunities to meet with the county manager, express their desires. In addition, we did meet with the sheriff, I think, on April the 6th. The sheriff, his staff, Dr. Cozart, myself, the county manager, assistant county manager, and to go through some things. So we are working with the sheriff's department on doing what we can to better the situation so that we can retain our deputies and do the best we can. Any other questions?
Mr. Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. The board has really been trying to be proactive with this. And I think the significance of April 16th, 2022, if you stop and think about how budget process normally runs, for the board to make a move at that particular point in time, I think shows a lot of interest and a lot of concern for our employees, shows that we needed to be urgently doing something and that needed to do it sooner than later. And for those who have followed the normal budgetary process, normally at that point, you're getting ready for a new year and you don't normally do anything really drastic. But I think to jumpstart a COLA on April 16th of a year is really significant and shows a lot of commitment. The staff putting the recommendation together and the board approving this, and I'm just grateful for it. And then, of course, you've articulated the timeline, and I just think it spells out what you've said is that the board has been very concerned, values our employees, both those in law enforcement and others as well. So just very proud of what we have before us in this particular map.
Any further comments from any other commissioner? I just want to make it very clear, this board is committed to working with our sheriff, we're committed to working with our employees, and we're committed to listening to our residents, any concerns they have regarding this matter, and that we hope that we can bring forth a compensation package that will be competitive, not only in salary, but also some benefits. But it may be an incremental process in some areas because you want to make sure as a county that you're responsible physically and you don't go a bridge too far that you may not be able to accomplish in 1 year. But I feel certain that the county manager and Ms. Weichel, the assistant county manager, are on the right track and doing what they can. So thank you, board.
I do want to add one after that statement. I do see, she said 350 employees right now for the county that we employ. If you take the 72 from the sheriff's office, that leaves us with another 278 employees that we need to worry about too, on top of the sheriff's department. And that's not, that's not a little amount of people. That's a huge amount of people. And I applaud you all trying to find money to keep everybody at that pay that we can keep these people that are so important to us. Thank you.
I'd like to make another announcement. The notice of a budget, or the budget work sessions is, well, let me make one other. Ms. Dever, do you have one about the fire commission?
Put it on the door.
Okay. For those, there'll be a fire commission meeting tomorrow night. I think it starts at 6 o'clock, am I correct? And it will be, going forward, fire commission meetings will be held here. There's adequate space, and people can, our residents can come in and look at it. The Granville County Board of Commissioners will meet at the Granville County Convention Expo Center, 4185 Highway 15, Oxford, North Carolina, on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 9 a.m. and Thursday, May 11th, 2023 at 9 a.m. and if necessary, on the following Friday at 9 a.m. To hold budget work sessions on the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. So those will go out, and then the fire commission meetings are scheduled April 18th at 6 p.m., July 24th at 6 p.m., and the next one Monday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. But I feel confident that at the rate we've been going, we'll actually likely meet every month. But those are publicly announced because they are public meetings, and they'll go out in that manner. With that, I'd like do we have anything else from the board? Any other matters to consider? Mr. Z?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry I supposed to gave it to you when I made my report. Oak Hill Presbyterian Church is celebrating on May the 20th, I think it's May the 28th, celebrate their 200 years anniversary. That is one of the first church up in that area, in Oak Hill. And I would like this board to do a proclamation on honoring their 200-year anniversary. It's a little small, pretty church that sits back in the woods. It's really a beautiful church, and they keep it up. They upkeep it really good.
Well, we will certainly do it if you'll provide us with some basic information.
I will.
And we'll get with Ms. Deborah and Terry and county manager. I'm not assigning anything, Terry. I'm just letting the county manager, and we will get that out. Also, on May 1st, our next board meeting, we will be celebrating and remembering Commissioner Pete Avert, who spent over 30 years as a county commissioner here, who recently passed away. His family will be present. We want to take the opportunity to remember him and his 30-year commitment to Granville County. And I invite all of you that are here tonight to come back then and remember and share with his family his years of service to the county. With that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are closed for business. Thank you. Thank you for coming.